Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, Spring Ball, Texas Longhorns edition. Very excited. We have our spring game coming up April 21st, and it's supposed to be scheduled for night game, but with inclement weather coming in, we're not sure how that's going to turn out. But very excited nonetheless, going into Tom Herman year 2. Herb Hand on deck, little bit of shakeup in the coaching staff ranks, but nothing too serious. Yeah, but just wanted to give my thoughts on, what we can expect coming out of the spring. I'll be doing another video with my buddy Tran, just breaking down the actual spring game, going over, guys that caught our eye, guys we're going to be excited about going into the regular season, and things that the team, in our opinion, needs to improve on. But just going off of, none of us have been able to see practices and in-depth and whatnot, but just going off of Tom Herman's press conferences and what we know about this team going into the offseason, as well as the early enrollee freshmen. Obviously, the big discussion, just to start off with, is going to be around the quarterback position. We've heard some very promising things behind Shane Buechele, who's going into his junior year, and Sam Ehlinger, who will be a sophomore. And then, obviously, the two young guys, Casey Thompson and Cameron Rising, who hopefully will be redshirted this year. We definitely need to get that line of thinking and back in our program, but that comes with the privileges of depth. But hopefully, I'm hoping that Sam Ehlinger is the guy, just for the simple reason that I believe he gives our team the most upside to win. Not that we can't win with Shane Buechele. He's shown a lot of promise, especially his freshman year, but just in this offense, Sam Ehlinger's ability to extend plays and make plays improvised, he has the ability to be special. And one of the things I'm looking to see on Saturday is just his command of the passing game, buttoned up. Hopefully he's been buttoned up on with some accuracy issues he's had last year, and most importantly, decision making. It's been well documented of the issues he's had, late game decision making, turning the football over. Some of that was freshman woes, and some of that was just his gunslinger mentality. We want to encourage that, but you have to protect the football. You saw, with our rivals in Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield, similar style of play, but I think he only threw 5 interceptions and had a very low turnover rate his entire time as a quarterback at Oklahoma. One of the things that I would like to see from Sam Ehlinger is just that attention to detail in that regard. So I'm going to be watching him very closely when he's with the ones, just to be moving the ball effectively, especially in the third down situations that they present. I understand, with it being a spring game, defenses are going to be a tad bit vanilla. Offenses, they're only going to be running a few plays. Tom Herman had actually touched on that, I think, on the April 14th press conference. But I want to make sure he's sharp. He's on time with the football. Ball placement is good. And just, like I said, overall command of the offense. With that being said, Shane Buechele is still going to be very, very important, because assuming he doesn't, ultimately he concedes the job to Sam Ehlinger, we're going to need both of them. In this offense, especially run heavy, quarterbacks tend to get dinged up, and Shane Buechele, one of the things I want to see from him, with him well documented his issues with pocket presence, but what I would like to see from him is the touch on his deep ball that he showed us. He showed a beautiful touch his freshman year. If we can get back to that, and he can leverage some of the deep speed we're going to have on the outside with guys like a John Burt and a Devin Duvernay, then we're in business no matter who's in the game. Now, I just spent all this time talking about the quarterbacks, but the big culprit of last season, and Tom Herman has gone back and forth on this, is the offensive line, which is why we brought in Herb Hand from Auburn. And, hopefully he said we should see a cohesive offensive line unit on Saturday. We know that they're incomplete. Mikey Grandy's banged up. Calvin Anderson is not officially with the team yet. Patrick Hudson's still working back from some stuff. So we could see some shakeup with the offensive line. But one of the things I'm excited about is the influx of talent that we'll have. I know we lost Connor Williams and a Jake McMillan, but just with Herb Hand's coaching, a breath of fresh air, as well as one JUCO transfer and one grad transfer, that should really, really help stabilize things. And getting Patrick Hudson back, as well as some of these young guys like a Samuel Cosme who were redshirted last year. Tom Herman said it. They got to step up and develop. These are guys that were some of them 4 and 5-star athletes coming out of high school. They're going to have to deliver, and that's in conjunction with the young guys who are coming in this current class. I believe we could have up to 3 if one of them qualifies. So I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to the offensive line, just because they've shown a tendency to be so inconsistent, even in the scheme, and some of that falls on Tim Beck, and that to me is the biggest question mark with this whole football team. And let me get right to that. It is Tim Beck, and hopefully that's not going to be Tom Herman's downfall. I think he's kind of already hedged his bet with the Herb Hand thing and Drew Maringer getting a little bit more responsibility from a passing game perspective, as well as Tom Herman himself taking over much of that. So this Tim Beck situation, we got to see how it plays out. We got to see, how much he has responsibility-wise from a game day perspective. Is he going to be truly calling the plays? Is that going to lean more towards Tom Herman? Time will tell. I don't have any faith in Tim Beck. I've said that pretty much in all of my YouTube videos. But I do have faith in Tom Herman. I do have faith in his eye and his ability to develop quarterbacks and offenses. He is proven. So he's got to. This season's got to be the year where he puts his footprint down on this offense. Lastly, with the wide receivers and running backs, but with the wide receivers, that slot position is going to be huge for us, guys. Looks like Gerard Hurd's going to be the guy right there right now, also competing with a guy like a Jordan Humphrey as well as Jordan Pouncey. But I expect this wide receiver group as a whole to be better. We had a lot of seniors last year who took up a lot of snaps, who weren't the most talented guys, but they were, could be somewhat trusted. I know we had all the issues with Armani Foreman, but even guys like Dorian Leonard and Lorenzo Joe, and God bless them, but the guys that we're going to have now just have more, I feel like have more ability. Whether you're looking at getting a Devin Duvernay more snaps, getting a John Burt more snaps, who, caught a touchdown in the bowl game. We've heard nothing but great things about Duvernay in all these spring practices. Let's see if that translates to the field under the lights. Let's see if Colin Johnson can be an effective number 1 wide receiver in the Big 12 week to week. He had some monster weeks, and then he had weeks where, he would come off the field. And again, I attribute a lot of that to coaching. But I also want to see him be consistent, developing as a route runner, developing the nuances of the position, because he's a guy that could leave after this year if he really gets it all together. It would be a great example for the pipeline of receivers we have coming in. Even a guy like Brendan Eagles, who's here right now, learning and developing, so there's not pressure to play these guys and then they become incomplete products. But a lot of pressure is going to be on Gerard Hurd. And I think he'll be up for the challenge. He's not cross-training anymore. He's not spending time in the court, half his time in the quarterback room and half his time as a wide receiver. He seems to be a full-time wide receiver now. And hopefully he can embrace that slot position, which is so key in Tom Herman's offense. You saw what he did with the guys he had at Houston, like a Bonner. Hopefully Hurd can be a guy like that. That's a high-volume position, and coming out of the season, I was excited for a guy like a Hempel Maps, who, when that position looks correct, like you saw in like the Maryland game last year, I know we lost, but 10 catches, 117 yards, high volume, quick, but you have to be an effective route runner, able to go over the middle, and be very, very quick in your routes. So that's something we need to evaluate with the Gerard Hurd, and he's a guy that I'll be paying a lot of attention to in Saturday's game. Very quickly, and the reason why I spent so much time on the offense is because I do have a lot of faith in this defense, led by Todd Orlando. There's some very promising seniors over there, Brecken Hager, Chris Boyd, who, the point of Chris Boyd, he has an ability to rewrite the narrative of his UT career. He finished the season in brilliant fashion, and I think he should be an all Big 12 performer this year. I think Gary Johnson, as long as he recovers well, I know we're really thin at linebacker right now, but it's going to give a guy like a DeMarco Boyd, Deli, and Anthony Wheeler an opportunity to get some snaps. But I'm also just excited about seeing Gary Johnson be a leader in his senior year and really, really showing off all of his physical gifts. I don't think we'll miss Malik Jefferson as much. I think the guy that we'll miss defensively is going to be Poona Ford. It's going to be a tall task on guys like Amenahue and Chris Nelson and all of the defensive linemen we have up front, Jamari Chisholm. I think it's going to be one of the things where they kind of throw bodies at it at first, but Poona was such a leader by example and a guy that was really irreplaceable in Big 12 play. Red zone situations, goal line situations. He was outstanding at the point of attack. He's going to be missed significantly. But the one thing I do think we'll see an uptick in with this defense is in the secondary. I think Brandon Jones is going to be a lot more comfortable this year. I like Chris Brown playing that little rover linebacker position that Jason Hall left. But we'll see how, these young guys, and I'm so excited to hear the reports about a B.J. Foster, Anthony Cook, Caden Stearns. There's opportunity for these guys to play, and it sounds like they can play multiple positions across the defense. P.J. Locke's going to need to have a bounce back year. I know he's been kind of banged up here and there. But, and going back, again, I'm not really worried about the defense, but going back to the offense, I know that Tom Herman's complained a lot about the running back position. As long as ball security is good, that still comes down to the offensive line to me. Because if the offensive line is good, we have runners. We really do. Kyle Porter aside, Danny Young's very talented. Tonio Carter is very talented. And you have, this young boy Ingram coming in who could be the most dynamic of all of these backs. So just wanted to kind of cover a broad spectrum. Guys I'm looking at in particular in this spring game, Sam Ehlinger, Gerard Hurd, all of the young DBs, Anthony Cook, Caden Stearns, as well as B.J. Foster. And then I'm also going to be paying attention to, our defensive line rotation, picking up for Poona Ford, and obviously the number one offensive line unit, even though we don't have all of our guys in there just yet. But you guys let me know what your thoughts are. I think, just looking around, seeing some of the spring games that have happened so far, I was able to catch a lot of Oklahoma's. And I think that is an example of what's going on in the Big 12 right now. Outside of West Virginia and Kansas State, everybody's kind of starting over at quarterback right now. And offensively, so many guys have graduated or left early for the draft. And you saw with Oklahoma, they have a quarterback battle going on. I think a lot of people thought the job would be handed to Kyler Murray, and he kind of struggled a little bit. Kendall struggled a little bit, but kind of kept that gap close with them. So here's an opportunity. From our perspective, we have a lot of guys that have now played. We have two quarterbacks that have played a lot. Shane Buechele is going to be a junior. Sam Ehlinger played a bulk of the Big 12 schedule. So very, very excited to see how we leverage this experience, how Tom Herman now gone through a Big 12 schedule, playing a big boy schedule and having those growing pains, if we can trudge through that. So, like I said, I'll be back after Saturday, just full breakdown of the game, my thoughts with my buddy Tran. But as always, hook 'em horns.